Hello everyone, I'm Jay Coker, Chairman of the Board of Producers Rice Mill. We've been coming to you periodically the last few years with some crop updates and information that we feel like is typically of interest to you, and sometimes it's in response to questions the producer staff and sales force has gotten. So normally in mid-June, we're getting close to what we might say is kind of like our beginning period of mid-season, which typically our rice has had most of its input supplied, and we're going up with our water, and we're going to maintain that flood and have a normal crop development up to about mid-August, where we would drain this water. If you don't know, we had a significant weather event. It started on the 8th, I believe, of June, and throughout central and southeastern Arkansas, we had about 14 up to 20 inches of rain in some of the critical rice growing areas that produce some of the best rice and has the best soils for rice in the state of Arkansas. So as an example of what a lot of farm acreage and rice fields are dealing with at this time in the rice farmers, this field that we're standing in, it is not at the stage where it can tolerate this much water. If you'll notice, we're going to show you some pictures of how the water affects the growth of the crop. It stretches it out. The rice is trying to outgrow the floodwaters, and it's trying to get up out of that water. So it's getting stringy, it's getting long. It kind of has the consistency of spaghetti, you might say. This field has been underwater for about 7-8 days now. The water levels are receding. We should have normal development, maybe delayed maturity, but physiologically, the rice should fare well, and in a couple weeks, it ought to be normal looking field again. All right, so the rice, we're in the field now. You know, to your appearance, it doesn't look like there may be any rice out here, but if you're able to look closer, you can see that the rice is laying on the water surface. It's long and stringy. It's kind of lost its structure. This is what we would normally say is 3-leaf rice. This 3-leaf rice is about 12 inches, 14 inches long. This rice would typically be at 3-leaf about 3 or 4 inches. So this is the effect of the flood water. The rice is trying to survive. It's trying to get up out of the water, get to where it can get oxygen and sunlight. All right, so we're going to kind of show you some kind of the progression of how we feel like the rice crop and the rice plants are going to progress and develop. This field was the exact same conditions as the one we were in earlier 2 days ago. So 48 hours ago, it was completely flooded, and you'll notice today the water has drained off for about 48 hours, and you'll notice that a lot of the plants, not all of them, but they've regained their normal growth. They're starting to stand back up. You know, here's some that were really stretched out, and that's slowly starting. This one should, stand up as well. So things can happen in a hurry, and we hope that growers, take some comfort from the fact that these crops are resilient and they should continue to develop normally. They're kind of bred and their parentage to withstand things like this. The rice isn't aquatic. It tends to grow at best in the water, or at least in saturated conditions. So hopefully this is what we'll see. Now there are limits after 10 days up to 14 days in stagnant, muddy water that's 90 degrees. That rice will not fare quite so well. So there's a point to where the water has to get off, and unfortunately there's probably going to be areas of the state and on certain farms that water will not be able to get it off in time. So what was typical for a lot of the areas of the state, and there's still this situation in certain areas is still as bad. But for instance, this area where we're standing now, just as much as 72 hours ago, this whole area, as far as you could look in all 4 directions, was completely underwater. Some fields were 2 feet underwater, some fields were only 2 or 3 inches underwater, but the entire area was flooded. So you can see the water flooded very quickly, but then it receded, and fortunately it was draining off quickly. Following up with some of the damage estimates for the state of Arkansas, Arkansas Farm Bureau estimates over $300 million in damages to crops. That could go higher. There's a significant amount of stress and concern amongst growers and their families. So these are trying times for Arkansas agriculture. As far as the crops, rice, beans, corn, and even some wheat was affected. Of those crops, rice, fortunately for us and fortunately for Producers Rice Mill, rice is one of the crops that has the best chance to be able to continue its development and to hopefully have a yield and a quality that would be consistent with what we would typically want to expect under these conditions.